Well, we're doing something new. This has not been done before. Something that people don't really understand is that even though we're making a game, yes, it's a game with a new type of interface. And interfaces are something so important for games because games are a system that exists digitally. They exist in the computer. But you, in the real world, have to interact with it somehow. And if you change the way how that interacts, then you change the whole thing. So how does it change? Honestly, we don't know yet. Something that we have to research. That's why it's important. So that's the thing. The game design is the one that regulates how that interaction is going to happen. And because we don't know it yet, because we don't know this interface and we're just trying to explore all its different methods and how people will behave with it, then it is very hard to design for it. But there are some things we do know. We do know, for example, how it works. In the case of the leap, we do know that it measures 10 fingers, that it uses its hands, that it's supposed to be in front of a computer. And with those things, we can start designing parameters. So we can start seeing what does it measure. Well, it measures speed, it measures position, it measures orientation, it measures all these kinds of stuff. And with those, we can start saying, okay, well, first, how do we adapt them to current genres? And this is just more of a training exercise. It's not that current genres will work on this new interface, but it's something we can do in order just to train our muscles, start thinking about it in a different way, in this new perspective. And with that, we can say, okay, now that we know how we can use these new interfaces, these new interactions with the previous genres, let's see what else we can come up with. Let's see, maybe for example, if you're doing an RTS, maybe you're not just selecting with two fingers or just selecting the units in a 2D plane. Maybe it's 3D plane, maybe it's space. And you go on from there. That's how you design it then. You measure what it can be, what it can do, what it can measure, and then how can that become a useful interaction? Because that's all about design. Design is about meaningful interactions. And if we have those interactions, then we can create them in such a way that they're meaningful and they're important for people and they're easy to use, then we can get a fun game. Any road bumps? Oh yes, of course. It is hard. It is very hard to design for an interface. Not only are we not used to it, it's a different way of thinking about things. For example, I come from a classic game design background in the sense that I'm used to buttons, I'm used to keyboard and a mouse, not used to motion controls at all. And going from normal motion controls into motion controls that use fingers that are very, very precise, that even if your trembling hand will measure it and change everything, it is hard. There are roadblocks. But right now, that's why we research. That's why we're in this stage where we're just scattershotting ideas and seeing which sticks, which doesn't, which works, which is fun. And that's how you filter all the bad ideas out. And what you're left are all the good ideas, or the ideas that you can start polishing. They're not good ideas per se yet, but if you start working on them, then you can get something that is very special, very unique to that interface. And that is a roadblock. That is a road bump because you're not used to that kind of thinking. But the good thing is that through research and through prototyping, through practice, you get better at it. And at this point, for example, I feel we're very comfortable with coming up with new ideas that are very deep specific, that show off the technology, and that are also really, really fun.